brought you in, these producers, are they already established?
These producers make those that are working hard look like they are not working. And sometimes, as human beings, if you're not careful, you start getting carried away, you start feeling like you're not enough. Chine, I want to ask you, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, doing 1 million views was not a regular thing. But a lot of people's standard of success has become 1 million views. And it's also because we are also not looking at the things surrounding it. If you shoot a movie and the movie is going slowly and surely, that's success. But because you're looking at what somebody else is doing, you are feeling like you're not enough. You are feeling like you have failed. You are feeling like you are not there. And that's the problem of money. So no, most times when I work with unknown faces, I look at them, I know that okay, people don't know you, so people don't trust you. I tell myself, okay, let me shoot you something. Even if it gives me 700k views, I'm okay. I tell myself, if I get 700k from this unknown face, I'm okay. That means 700,000 people have watched you. So I make sure I tell a story enough that when next they see you, those 700,000 people will watch it again. That's how I operate. And don't think that risk taking is easy for me. It's not easy for me. Don't assume it. People always look at me and say, oh, it's Ruth. Oh, it's Ruth. Nothing is Ruth. It's the same way somebody else will lose money that I will lose money. But regardless, go ahead, but I didn't come into YouTube with millions of views or money rather. It is in fact, the first time I shot on YouTube, I don't even pay money. I begged everybody that I've ever produced film with, say please. So the first one was free, and I built every single thing to the millions that we have today. I built it from scratch. And how did I build it? By taking risks. Till next 20 years, I will still be able to take risks because I'm excited about taking risks. Because if it doesn't work, it's okay. Because I'm not afraid to fail. And that's how I operate. Yes. And you think that, oh, teenage, whatever is easy. Okay.
No, I don't think that's what she meant. That's not what she meant. So, I think what she spotlighted was the fact that she has seen a couple of other, teenage series that did quite well.
My point is that we are all producers here.
Yeah.
If we all start taking the risks with our full chest, it will change.
So what of the producer that does not have money, an upcomer,
How can you be
the person will look for the sponsor.
How can you be a producer you don't have money?
This film business from the get-go has been a very risky business.
And I want
You are risking them. What about people that take 300, 400 million to the cinema
Yeah.
and make 50 million? And they will go back and shoot again.
So there was a point we made, and when I tried to button, please let's give her a round of applause. When I tried to button, we're running up now, so we'll open it. When I tried to button, I saw a reaction. And the reason why I saw the reaction, I would assume that maybe, they didn't want you to go there. You did mention that some popular producers or some producers are buying views, right? So we're not going to mention names or anything, right? But is there a particular reason why a producer would want to buy views, even though that will not count as part of their revenue? Is it some sort of hack? So you buy views, people now think your platform is popular, and they now rush in. Because Nigerians, they love this kind of PR. They're like, oh, this movie has over 1 million views, so it must be important. So let me go and watch it. I think they call it FOMO. People have FOMO, fear of missing out. So, yes. So really, people should tell me this gist. There are producers in this industry that buy views.
Like I said from the beginning, people, there's no two marriages that are the same. People are on the platform for different reasons. And the reason, whatever brings you to a platform is how you're going to operate. So however you operate, as long as it doesn't affect me personally, it's your personal problem.
Okay.
Whatever you want to do it. I don't have control over how you're going to operate.
Eddie, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say something.
On the views buying. No, because I'm sure.
Views on the views, but not.
Why would people buy? Because now you'll be pressured. Because me, I've been on YouTube for over a year. I never get past 150. What's 150? 120k.
Okay. This is the thing, right? I remember like 3 years ago, when we put a movie on YouTube, and maybe in a day we had like 100,000 views. now people are maybe celebrating 1 million views. We're happy. And I've had a movie that reached almost 2 million views, but then it started with 100,000, gradually growing, and it made my money. But I think the whole issue is like you said, everybody has different reasons why they're on the platform. Some people want to be popular, some people want just different reasons. But I know back then, there was a time that she had issues with her channel. Her channel was demonetized.
Oh wow.
And yeah, that was 2-3 years ago. And she kept posting films every week.
Without making money.
Without making money. And when I asked why you were wasting the film, she said her audience are waiting to watch. She said she can't disappoint the audience. So to some people, that's too much of a risk. That's too much of sacrifice. Do you understand? So I don't think anybody's out there just wanting to waste money, but they have to build trust with your audience. You have to build that trust that whenever they come, they will be able to read something and something great from you. But now everybody, like everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to make you.
Okay.
You just make all the money in the world.
That leads me to the next point, and then after this, we'll open up the floor. As much as YouTube is free for all, let us not forget that we are also in one industry, which is Nollywood. And I feel like there are certain people that should act as custodians of the industry. And that is not to say that you now come and say, oh, I'm a leader, or I'm a this, or I'm a that, right? But if we do not protect this industry, it might not flourish, or it might not get us to where we want to be. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about Nigerian films appealing to not just Africans, but to the whole world. You know, we've seen a couple of our films that did number ones globally. You know, if we do not protect the quality, or if we do not set a certain standard, it will get to a point. You know how people will say, I don't watch Nollywood, I don't watch Nollywood. It got to a point when we started making really great films. We started selling out in cinemas, and the rest of it. So if we keep on reducing the quality, or if we allow people, quote unquote, because there's no regulation on YouTube, there's no body, you know, there's no particular body that regulates the kind of content that you put on YouTube. So what do you think we need to do to ensure that Nollywood does not get to the place whereby it's now considered something that people shouldn't watch, with the way everybody's just pushing out content?
We should first find the pressures that are on our shoulders and take it off. So if it is pressure of getting quality actors or a certain type of actors, you find a way to take it off. That way, I mean, if I want to invest 50 million into telling a story, and one actor says he wants 6 million, how are we now going to do it? So but if you take that pressure off, you still have that money to be able to invest in other aspects of the production that will give it the type of quality that it needs. And also, just concentrate on what you're doing.
Yeah,
so that you don't feel like you're wrong.
Okay, so I try to be a realist. And in this space of our digital space, YouTube is free for all. It's going to be so hard because the life when we have go about card, we can have people get keep or control. There's something if you want to sell your film to African Magic, there's something called quality control.
Yeah.
If your movies don't make up to, they will not buy it. So that way you need to make better films next time. But YouTube is free for all. So for me, I don't know the hack yet, but I feel like for now, because of it's a digital space and it is free for all, anybody can make anything. I feel like it's going to be a bit hard. There have to be deliberate steps by filmmakers to say, okay, how do we prove? Because I tell people, the problem we have with YouTube is that it's a one man, it's my own. And people forget that it's an industry. If everybody keeps doing it's my own, I don't think the industry will scatter. And we will not have a place to strive anymore. And then it will not favor anybody. Because I say to people that if 3 or 4 or 10 people are striving in the industry, then the industry is a failure. But if we have more than 50% people in an industry striving, then it means that the industry is successful. But this YouTube page right now is about my own. People don't care about what damage it is doing to the platform and to the people or the industry at large. But once I'm successful, once my own is striving, I am good. So there have to be deliberate attempts to, I don't know what it is going to be for now, but just, so that we can keep, and then people can still watch. Because right now, when I said, like you said, then 100,000 views, we used to celebrate it. I would have it in like 1 week. But right now, if you don't have 1 million views, it's like you're depressed. And that 1 million views is not in a month, it's in a day.
Some people call me to cry.
Yeah.
My film is not doing well.
It's not even about the film anymore, it's about the views. So how do, and then when you put on your TV, you see a lot of YouTube channels, you are confused, you don't know, then you turn it off. You can't even pick because it's too many things to watch. So how we're going to, say, I don't know yet.
All right. Wow, what an intense conversation. I think at this point in time, we need to open it up. Our madam at the top, Choma Ude, you want to ask the question or you're just greeting us? Okay, please, can we get the mic to her? Ladies and gentlemen, please a round of applause for the convener, AFRIFF.
Hello everyone, thank you for taking out time for this panel. It's a question, but I'm going to start it a bit different. So Ruth just mentioned that if she has 15 million and 6 million goes to the actor, then she's not able to do the movie. Have you guys ever considered collaborating? And in doing that, would you be sincere? So let's say as the more popular channel, collaborate with maybe like there are two superstars beside you, right? You make the film together. You're not paying her 6 million. They do it in Hollywood for big films. You don't pay her 6 million. You do the film, your profits. Can that be done? That way you would begin to have more quality films and less burden on the money initially.
Well,
Ruth, you want?
I see if I can make it myself as an actor, I'm talking as an actor, if I can make this film myself and put it on my platform and make 10 million views, why do I want to partner with you and share that revenue? That's how the typical actors think in the YouTube space right now. So it's not a lot of people. The last project that I did, last film I released on my channel, I called the actor, I wanted to work with me, and he said, oh, why don't we do a collaboration? And I'm like, okay, fine. And then I wrote the story, we did it together, and then he pushed on his end, I pushed on my end, we collaborated in the film on both channels, and it was doing well. Do you understand? But it's not a lot of people that will want to do that. Why would I want to shoot for Ruth and share the money with Ruth when I can just do that film for my own self and make the money? Because all actors are producers, so...
But you won't be making that quality.
Nobody cares about it.
All right. We're going to take another question. I have a follow-up question to that, but let's allow the audience to ask the questions.
So, quick question is, first, I just wanted to respond to Joma quickly before I ask my question.
Yes.
The platform is full of actors, actresses, and they don't like to share anything. And it's not that they're doing it purposely, that's the mentality of superstar actors. So they need people to break that from them, you know what I mean? And say, guess what, you can share the spotlight with another actress and then make money, blah, blah, blah. But it's a difficult thing to do, and I don't blame them from that. Because there's a mentality for actors, there's a mentality for producers, there's a mentality for directors. So if you have it ordinarily, then you're lucky. But my question is, do you guys ever think of the effect of this YouTube thing we're doing, shooting films 3 days, 4 days, on actors? Because I'm finding that actors who are popular on these things are having ADHD when they now have to shoot. For me, I don't shoot films less than 4 weeks to 6 weeks. And I want you to be in character almost 3-4 months to the time. When I shoot my films, I start talking to my actors sometimes 1 year before the time. So because I don't direct on set, they already know what they need to do when they get on set because I've been prepping them, saying certain things to them. And found that the last time I shot, I had people on that set. They're calling them up and down. They have like 3-4, they're shooting 3-4 films at a time, and it reminded me of those days when Nollywood was those part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, and people were in different. And I'm like, why are we back to that again? Do you guys sometimes think about it, of the effect of these things on your actors?
Alright.
It's not the producer, so it's like a beautiful woman. Men will come. She decides who she wants to follow, whether one or all of them. You know, because for instance, now, I know people used to call me a lot of films, but they don't call me anymore. Because me, I can't handle it. And I don't want to be on your set and be cranky. So, if I tell myself, maybe I'll shoot for one person once a month, that's it. So they are the ones that will decide. But greed is setting in. They are already calculating the money, formula times 6. So if you try to advise, you are even a problem to them. Like, so someone will tell you, this is my time to gather. Please allow me.
Because it's to the point where I don't even want to touch. If I know you're popular on YouTube, I'm not touching you.
Yeah. But so not all of them though. There are people that want to do something different. They are also going to.
Yeah. Yes, by the way, that's veteran Mama Mildred. Please, a round of applause for her. Yeah, you wanted to add something to that, Lilian?
I wanted to answer Choma and my Richard. I wanted to say one thing. So first, like me, I collaborate with actors. I'm a producer, but my production, if you really look at the films I've been doing recently, I've been doing so well, it's collaboration. You might just not know. The story might even be from the actor. The revenue, everything is, so I think it's a preference. Like some people are viewed to be greedy. Yes. So some people, I think it's an upbringing thing. Some people are just greedy. Some people just want everything, you know, and they want to be, you know, they don't like to share, they want to, but there are other people too that don't mind sharing, and that is overshadowing us because we're not plenty.
No, to be a superstar, it's not that you're greedy. You have the mentality of care. You must see me. Do you know what it takes to go in front of people and say, look at me? I can't do it. That's why I'm not an actor. So for you to reach that pinnacle where people like you, I've studied them over the years. Most of them have the same ways of doing things. They have processes. I mean, in terms of their life, I can tell you who is going to be a star and who is not, just from the way they handle things. So I don't think it's that they're being greedy. It's just that mentality that they now have to work on themselves to say, look, let me shift. I'm a producer, which means I must put myself behind the product being the actor. So for me, I'm a behind the scenes person. There's a personality for it, but there's a personality also for the actor. But now we have so many actors, both behind and in front, and sometimes they've not worked on themselves. Because most times, because you can even see how jealous some producers get, actor producers get of actors. Something I don't care because I don't want to be in front of the camera, so my job is to make my actor look the best. But you can see some producers struggling because they're letting go, you know, when they should be in front. So that's what I'm talking about. It's not that they're greedy, it's just that it's something. You think they're greedy?
Alright. So we're going to take more questions.
It's a lack of discipline as well, and I really like the way Ruth broke it down. I like the way Ruth broke it down.
Yes, please. Also, if you don't mind introducing yourself, so that's for records. Oh, apologies. Apologies, man.
It's fine.
No, my eyesight is bad. I can't see that far.
It's okay. So I like what Ruth said about, you know, a woman with many suitors. There's a discipline that it also applies. You can be a top actor. You can be at the top of your game. You can want to point, shoot to kill, blah, 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 because you're focusing on yourself. But there has to be a discipline, because to get into character and to stay in character and deliver requires some level of time and discipline. So if you're jumping every 3 days onto the next, there cannot be discipline. And therefore, I have to look at it that there's a level of greed. No matter how good you are, there's a level of greed.
100% clock it.
And to the actors in the room, them are never going to be here because they're on some set or the other. If Ruth is complaining now publicly believe me, they are all complaining. I want you to know that. It means it's the beginning of the crash. And this is what happened with DVD many years ago. They weren't listening. Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Then it crashed all of a sudden. And I also wanted to, guys, point out, the reason why people look for faces is because they're now trying to say, if this person is in it, it might be good. It means we're doing too many bad films. They don't even know how to determine what is going to be good. Do you understand? But we must all go for it. I know we want to make money, but sometimes if you focus on telling your story, like Ruth said, we will get there. The world is looking at us. They are all on YouTube. You could make something that's fantastic and you wouldn't even be talking about to us in Africa because it will be some company in the US picking you up. So I think we all should decide, look, can we do better? And then also study. Just because you're doing well on YouTube doesn't mean you should go and get better at what you're doing. We shouldn't be watching films where there's bad lighting. You know, the storyline, you tell me you're doing a comedy and the thing is lit as if you're going to slash my throat in a minute. Back in 2014, I used to go to Nollywood 11, I used to go to YouTube to see the young people coming up because they had very different stories. The first time I saw Attribution was on YouTube and it was a fantastic short film. Now, we're now using it as if that's the only thing we have and everybody's just making these ugly films. Let's tell ourselves the truth. You understand? Pay attention to our storyline and get things better. We'll start to make money again.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we'll just take just one final question. I'm so sorry, I know that we have so many questions, but we're out of time.
Hi guys, so my name is Dr. Sid. Change the culture of content consumption in the country, which includes infrastructure, getting people to go to the cinemas. So when you make